to the Liberated Mind Podcast, where we have in-depth conversations with experts in mindset, finance, health and wellness, nutrition, relationships, natural law, and so much more to help us break free from past limiting beliefs and subconscious programming so we can create a well-rounded life of success and abundance for ourselves and the people we love. Our promise to you is that you will positively benefit from every episode and every guest we bring on. We are here to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Welcome to the Liberated Mind Podcast. Today we have a special guest. It's Brian Nichols from the Brian Nichols Show. He has released a new book called The CX Compass, the proven sales playbook to diagnose pain, prescribe value, and close CX deals with confidence. Brian, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Michael. Looking forward to chatting today. Lots of stuff to unpack here in the CX world, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So just to give everyone an idea of what we're going to be talking about, the Liberated Mind Podcast is all about educating people on things that they might not know, expanding their consciousness. And in this episode, we're going to be specifically focused on sales. So can you talk about what CX is?
For sure. Yeah. So CX is just shorthand for customer experience, right? So everybody has been a customer at some point, right? We're all consumers. So think back to when you reached out to your favorite company. When you reach out to that company, from the moment you either are potentially becoming a customer or the moment you are a customer, you are officially part of the CX journey in that company's organization. So the idea is, how do you improve that entire experience from the moment that you as a company enter into that customer's world to the moment that they potentially leave as a customer, right? Whatever that reason may be. So how do you create a positive customer journey from start to finish? And the goal ultimately being there is no endpoint, right? It's an ever-going journey. So that's the 30,000 foot overview of what customer experience is.
Gotcha. Okay. So it starts from when a customer first thinks about purchasing from a company. Is that it?
Yeah. So for example, right, like let's just take shoes, right? And you're reaching out to Nike, let's say, and you're trying to consider what pair of shoes would be the best option for you. So you go to their website, right? The moment I land on their website, my customer experience journey has begun. I'm looking at the website. I'm trying to understand what's the best fit for me, but maybe there's like 3 or 4 different shoes and I don't know which one's the best fit. There's a little chatbot at the bottom of the screen. I could go and start to either talk to a real person, or maybe they're leveraging an AI agent or something therein, and to be able to better ask questions to understand as a customer what the product is, how it will impact me. And then if you end up deciding to make that buying decision, right, you get the pair of shoes. What does it look like from the moment that those shoes are ordered to actually getting to your door? You try them on at home. They're not that comfy like I thought they were going to be. Maybe I need a different pair of shoes. So now I have to begin the return process or the exchange process. What does that process look like as a customer, and how does the company help me do a better job? Those are, at the end of the day, some of the pillars of the customer experience journey. Is just your customer has an issue or your customer is trying to get something from your company. What ways are you as a company putting pieces in place to be able to meet them where they're at and address the issues that they have?
Gotcha. So let's talk about maybe companies that aren't like Nike. You're not going to walk in to a
Nike what?
So what about more direct sales, right? You got salespeople that are making phone calls, that are booking appointments. Like, what advice can you give to those people?
Well, at the end of the day, right, you have to, and this is the little expression I've built over at my show, is to meet people where they're at. It's one thing to have the best product, the best service, but that doesn't mean anything until you're able to take that product or service and help apply it to the very real world that your potential customer is experiencing. And then this is the most important part, is to either show ways that it's going to make their lives better or ways you're going to help solve pain. And that's one of the things I see a lot of salespeople do wrong, right? Is they get this big, sexy list of features and benefits, and it talks about why their company or why their product or why their service is the best, right? And that doesn't mean anything unless you're able to translate that to the customer speak their language, help them see the value, help them see the pain points that they are likely experiencing internally. And then that your solution is an actual solution to the problem. That piece is so important. But frankly, Michael, it gets overlooked by so many sales folks, because the sales gene that folks think of, it very much is this Glenn Ross, like coffee is for closers type of perspective. And that's just not the reality, right? The reality is trying to take a solution that you see the value in, but helping the prospect see that value as well, but through their lens, through their perspective, because at the end of the day, they're the ones who are making the buying decision, not us.
Correct. That's correct. So you basically, psychologically, you focus on their problem, right? You turn up the pain, you get them to really recognize that they have an issue and that you have their solution, correct?
Yep.
You're bringing it in. So.
Yep. And that's the idea, right? Like, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. We're not trying to be the snake oil salesman or the used car salesman just to push a product. It's true consultative selling. And by the way, the number one thing that you as a salesperson could say to earn trust when you're not a good fit is to tell them that, like, hey, you know what? You have a problem. I really appreciate that you're coming to me for potentially solving that problem. The reality is, though, my solution isn't a great fit. Yes, I could sell it to you. Yes, I'm sure you would see value from the solution, but in terms of solving your true pain points, it's not going to be a good fit. Here's a different option I would consider, or here's some different folks I would talk to, and just telling them when it's a good fit and when it's not. That really earns trust. And by the way, if you know that they're a type of prospect who will have your pain at some point that your product or service can solve, now you're at the top of the list, because you were the guy who didn't force feed a product or a service down their throats just to make a commission check, right? You're becoming the true consultative salesperson who's helping them win, helping them solve problems. And that's a very big differentiator when you go into the marketplace.
Yeah. So would you say that your sales process begins with a series of questions?
Always.
Okay. Yeah. So basically asking them what their needs are in the first place, right?
Yes. But also, and Michael, this is one thing too. It's one thing to ask questions, but it's another thing to ask like pointed questions, right? So instead of just saying, what's your favorite food, right? If you're talking to a vegetarian, you can almost guarantee it's not going to be steak, right? So being able to take that perspective, and when you're talking to your prospect, understand who they are as a persona. Let's say, for example, in my world, I sell business telephony or phones, right? Business phone systems. If I'm talking to an IT director, I'm going to understand a lot more of what they're looking to accomplish, but also some of those potential roadblocks, right? IT personas, they're very risk adverse. They don't want to put any of the technology at the organization at risk from a cybersecurity standpoint, from a scalability standpoint, from an integration standpoint. So if you're able to help check those boxes as you're going through and asking these questions that you know that they're probably caring about, then you're able to help paint the picture, not only that you're an expert in their industry, but you're specifically talking about the use cases that they would be taking and applying your solution or service to based around the areas that they should be either looking for or areas they're trying to guard against.
Okay. So it sounds like before you even start reaching out and making the phone calls, you would list out all of the solutions and the pain points that your products would provide?
Yep. And map them right to the buyer persona. So there's two pieces to, before you even go out into a prospecting motion, to understand first where you're going to win. So starting to look at specific verticals, never to say, well, my product can help everybody. If your product can, in your brain, help everybody, it's going to help nobody, right? So first, laser focus on the areas you're going to win. And then therein, understand who are the folks that you need to talk to actually help make a buying decision happen. There are going to be two different folks you're going to want to talk to. The first is going to be the economic buyer. That's the person who actually signed the check, right? They're the person who's giving the green light to move this deal forward. The second person is what we call a champion. That person is somebody who's going to be an advocate for your solution internally. They're going to try to help sell you internally. But the most important piece to that is they're going to give you access. They're going to give you access to the buying committee. So that could be folks who are the economic buyers, other co-champions, or folks who would be considered like power users. So in my space, business telephony, the front desk person, the receptionist, the business admin, those folks are power users. They're answering phone calls all day long. They're transferring phone calls all day long. So for them to get their buy-in, that's going to be huge. but it's first understanding where your product wins, map it over to specific verticals, and therein map it down to the different buyer personas. Now you're cooking with fire.
Gotcha. Okay. So getting the buy-in from the people who are going to use it every day will help to back up the purchasing decision from the guy making the signing the check or putting the credit card in, right? And that guy, he may not use the system all the time. He may not be on the front lines. So
and probably aren't.
Yeah. I'm sure he takes phone calls here and there, but the person who is answering the phones and making sure they transfer properly, those are the ones that you have to get their buy-in as well.
Right, 100%. Like the contact center person, right? They're the person who's using the phones, but the CFO is the one who's actually signing off on the agreement. The CFO is not in the contact center suite. The CFO actually might not even be privy to like what the day in the life of a contact center looks like. But at the end of the day, they are the ones who are making that buying decision. What's my ROI? What's the actual cost of this acquisition? So these are things that persona cares about, but they're not focusing on the end, like reasons a call center would make a decision to change from one vendor to the other. That's usually going to be somebody who is more involved day to day. We talk about contact center employees, but what about like the VPs of the contact center, the managers of the contact center? There are specific KPIs or key performance indicators that these different individuals are paying attention to, that they're holding their employees accountable to, but frankly, things that they're being held accountable to, Michael. So, you know, if I want to have the average handle time, which is the moment a customer or a contact center agent picks up the phone to the moment they hang up that phone, right, and with a customer, like I want that to be as low as possible. But at the same point in time, I want to make sure that our customer satisfaction scores or CSAT scores are higher. So it's a fine balance, but looking at all these different metrics, those are the reasons that a company might go into what we call a trigger event, which is the moment that they decide, hey, there's something wrong here or something's happened, and now we need to start looking at making a different decision. When you get a trigger event happening, you can almost guarantee that some type of decision is going to be made in either pursuing a new solution or taking their old solution, Frankensteining it to make it more effective for the interim. Like there's a lot of things that could happen, but you're looking for that trigger event of, oh, this happened, therefore we need to start looking at different options. Or, oh, I'm a brand new VP of contact center at a brand new organization, and I'm starting to look at our contact center platform, right? Like those are the areas from a trigger event standpoint that also gives you as a salesperson more legs, because now you know that there is some defining action taking place inside the organization that might start the conversations that you can now enter into and start to add value versus trying to force a conversation that isn't even in their purview. Jason Stapleton, he used to have his show, the Jason Stapleton Program. And one of the things he used to say a lot is to enter into the conversations that people are having already in their own mind, right? So extrapolate that out. Same thing in the businesses. Enter into those business conversations that they're likely having internally. And that might look like an outreach to a VP of contact center saying, hey, Judy, this is Brian calling from XYZ Consultant. Hey, reason for my call, I've been working a lot with VPs of a customer experience. And one of the things I've been hearing is that we've been seeing a sharp decrease in customer satisfaction scores as the implementation of AI has really taken over. Is that something that you've seen as well? Oh, yeah, great. Yeah, because they've been talking about this, right? They noticed they put in an AI chatbot and people were getting pissed and just trying to say, get me to the operator, get me to a real person, right? So now I'm entering into a pain point they probably have been talking about, and they're going to say, yeah, I probably have experienced that. Hey, great. Well, listen, I'm not trying to sell you anything over the phone. Really, I'm just trying to better understand how that's impacting your business. And actually, one of the things we've seen help solve this is, and then go into the value prop. Hey, by the way, is that something you'd have some, or think there'd be a conversation that we should have to see if there might be an area we could help out? Very soft, very casual in the call to action, but it's all focused on, I see there's a problem. It's a problem they're likely experiencing internally, and now we're entering into that conversation. It's a much natural transition versus saying, hey, I have phones. Do you want to buy them? Yes, no? Okay, no? Gary, I'll go F myself. Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, the AI chatbots, they are horrible. There's one of the worst things to deal with. And I know with our company, even people going on our website, the responses that AI comes up with are very much not personalized, and it just makes it seem like very impersonal. And people want that person-to-person contact. They want their needs to be heard and the solution to be provided, and not have to waste 10 minutes going around and around with the AI chatbot.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and like I used to, so back when I was like truly in the contact center space and I was selling this a lot versus business phones, I used to talk about the HI, the human element, right? We have AI, artificial intelligence, but we need the human intelligence, the human aspect of things that really gets ignored. And there is something inherent in talking to a real person that just makes it feel that I'm actually being heard, I'm being understood. Yeah. And that part is fundamentally lacking when you go to an AI chatbot, or as things are going right now, Michael, you're starting to see a lot more of these AI call center agents, for example, where you're thinking you're talking to a real person, but it's actually some AI chatbot that's just been given an 11 Labs voice, right? So you have to, as a customer, understand that, like, yes, I'm likely reaching out and I'm gonna hopefully get a real person, but if I don't, what avenues do I have to actually reach a real person? And the number one concern, Michael, that customers had back in 2023, and the numbers haven't come out yet for 2024. They should be here, I think, the next few weeks or so. But looking at the top complaint in the contact center, it was actually reaching a live human agent. Yep. So that human intelligence, that human interaction, that piece cannot be understated how important it is. And for organizations who are sacrificing just a line item on a spreadsheet to cut costs in the pursuit of lowering headcount to increase AI chatbots, just understand that you're likely creating problems you're going to need to address 6, 12, 18 months down the road. And that's just the fundamental reality, because folks want to talk to real people and feel that their issues are being solved. Now, that's not to say that there's not a role for like the AI tools. If it's like, hey, I just need to check my balance. Okay. Yeah. Like, go check your balance and use the AI tool there. But if I have a problem, a true problem meaning solved, I need to know that there's somebody who actually understands not just the problem itself, but the emotional context behind why this problem is a problem and why it's so important to actually get it fixed.
Yeah, one of the best decisions we made a couple of years ago was to switch to an all-human call center, where whenever anyone calls in, a human answers the phone. They're able to answer some basic questions, but they can obviously talk to them, person to person, get their concerns down, and then the right person can follow up in our company. So that was one of the best decisions that we made, going away from just an answering service or the AI voiceovers. It's just impersonal. People hate it. It's going to lead to poor customer service ratings.
Yes.
And a lot of frustrated people. No one wants to sit on the phone talking to a computer or waiting. They just don't want to do it nowadays.
And who can blame them, right? Like, we are in an era of instant responses, instant gratification. And so many folks have applied that to having their problems solved. And I can think right now off the top of my head of like 10 use cases and examples where I've heard folks who told me the exact story, where they called into a company, like a prescription drug company, and they're trying to understand when they can pick up their prescriptions. And, I need to talk to the pharmacist really quick. And they just get stuck in, I call it IVR jail, which is where you're stuck in the, like, press 1 for English, 2 for Spanish, like call tree environment. And they get stuck in that world. And some of these platforms have like keyword identifiers that say, like, this person's sentiment might be bad. And it's when people start to throw out 4-letter words, right? So I've literally seen people who they'll just jump on a call and they'll be like, F word, F word, F word, F word. And you'll hear the little voice bot go, connecting you to a live human agent, please hold. Like, that kind of stuff. People are smart. They're going to figure out workarounds. So you can put all the pieces in place, but at the end of the day, people want to talk to people, right? That's what I think a lot of organizations are starting to realize. So stop trying to implement the easy button and actually just do things the right way. There's a show on HGTV my wife and I used to watch quite a bit called Homes. I think it's Homes on Homes or something like that. But the guy's name is Mike Holmes, and their whole thing is about building homes right. Do it right. And that is paramount in businesses, because just by doing it right, you are differentiating from the other folks who are like, let's just phone it in, hit that easy button, whatever.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it builds trust, and trust is a huge part of gaining and retaining business.
Yep. Oh yeah, trust is paramount.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in the very beginning when you're trying to bring a customer on board, but then retention is huge. Getting the repeat business and having them stay with you, no matter what it is that you're selling, right? The customer coming back to you, if you have more of like a one-time product, like a vehicle, right? Yep. So your vehicle, a lot of people will hang on to it for a couple years until they're ready to trade it in. But if you build a good relationship, they'll come back to you as a salesperson who made
Yep.
sure you took care of them. And then other products, like some of the products that we sell, people will use them over and over every single month. But there's a ton of competition on the market. They could easily switch to someone else's product.
Yep.
So building that trust is huge.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Actual people that care.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. And at the end of the day, too, like, that is one thing as we continue to advance as a society, especially as we implement more and more of these artificial intelligence tools, there is going to be this desire for something real, right?
Yeah.
And we're already seeing this. You're seeing this with like the AI art stuff, the AI music, the AI videos. It's cool.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's really cool. But when you watch the videos, you can just feel that there's something missing. Or you listen to the music and there's something you're listening for that's not there, right? And I don't know, like, call it soul, call it spirit. I don't know what to call it, but like it's apparent it's not there. And I don't know if you'll ever be able to replicate that unless, Michael, right? We're looking at the the Chinese company who took the brains, I think it was like of rats or something, and they put it into the like, instead of using computer chips, they use the brain, like the brain cells as the structure to build around. And they're finding that these AI tools that are using that as the kind of like the foundation piece, that like there's way more contextual responses. There's better artistic responses, which now we're starting to get into like some really, really like sketchy, borderline eugenics conversations. But we're seeing that right now, that there is an attempt to solve for this. Like, how do we get soul into AI stuff? And like, do we create these hybrids of like biology and technology? And if so, like, what are the ethics around that? But that might be a different conversation for a different day. But it is happening.
Yeah. So, that is an interesting conversation. Very dystopian, very sci-fi, futuristic.
Yeah.
I can picture like a brain that's plugged into a computer, like an actual real human brain. Because if they're using mice brain cells right now, how much longer? And actually, they're probably already doing it, experimenting with human brain cells within these supercomputers, trying to create the soul that seems to be missing, right? And the issue that I see with this situation is that there's so many people out there that do not recognize that the AI art is AI art. Have you seen the pictures on Facebook of, it's a fake person with a wood carving? That's just a beautiful wood carving.
No. Yes. And the boomers are like, oh my God, look at what Billy made.
Yeah. You look at the comment section, there's thousands of comments of people like, wow, that's fantastic. Oh my gosh, you're so talented. And like,
by the way, I don't mean to be dystopian, but a lot of those folks aren't real either. A lot of those comments are AI comments. And you can tell, because like there are some obvious ones. There was one, I'm so glad you brought this up, because there was one where it was supposed to be like an old person with a birthday cake, and they were like, it's my birthday, people will probably not even celebrate. And it's supposed to be, the way they were framing it, it was this old man who was supposed to be a World War II veteran. He was supposed to be celebrating his like 120th birthday. And Michael, I'm not even kidding, the AI art had like his actual ribs, like the bone exposed. And it's this like skeleton zombie looking guy holding a cake with 120 candles on it. And it's like him with tears in his eyes. And you go to the comments and it's just the same comment over and over again. Like, God bless you, sir. God bless you, sir. God bless you, sir. And I'm like, hold on. Is this whole dead internet theory real? Like, is this all AI? Is this all fake? And it's scary, man. It's scary because you see it and you're like, oh, this is the way the world's going. This is where we're at right now. And it's only going to get more bonkers as we get more of these AI tools getting better. But
yeah, there was a recent quote unquote study used on Reddit. Not sure if you paid attention or saw that, but basically they had an entire Reddit subreddit that was filled with these AI bots the purpose of it was to get people to change their opinions on a specific issue. And it worked.
Oh, wow.
And there was a big pushback against it because they made it public and they're like, holy crap.
Do you remember what the issue was? I'm curious.
No, not off the top of my head. But the thing is, it's like they're using these AI bots to then change perception basically lying and making up stories to get people to change their mind about certain issues. And we used to advertise on Facebook and realize that most of the people who were clicking, they were bots that were just clicking and then scraping emails and filling out forms. The same comments would go into our website. Is there anyone available to talk? Is there anyone available to talk? Is there anyone available to talk? So we stopped it just because we realized we're wasting money. We're just feeding these AI bots. All the clicks were coming from bots.
Yep. Yeah, there's going to be a fundamental change in the way that we do marketing, ad dollars, stuff like that, I think in the next 10 years, because there was a streamer, I forget who she was, but she was a video game streamer on Twitch, and she was using this tool. I don't know what the name of the tool was, but it basically creates fake live stream followers, and she got caught using it. And she was getting thousands and thousands and thousands of streamers or of folks watching her stream every single night. And it turned out that there was only like 100 or so folks who were actually watching her stream, like real people. And the rest was through this streaming tool thing. And that right there, not only does that show how easy it is to manipulate the system, but it also adds into the question of how many of the folks that we see right now that have these platforms, they're considered influencers, they're considered thought leaders, like how much of the stuff that they're producing is genuinely being like absorbed by a real audience versus some artificially contrived audience that is based on AI or bots or a combination of the two to help create the impression that they are a thought leader or an influencer. Like there's only a few folks I can really think of off the top of my head who have a true organic reach. Think of like Mr. Beast, right? Or like, heck, even Jordan Peterson back in the day. There are folks who really like they planted their flag in a certain area and they had a lot of success. But then there's a lot of these micro influencers who are like, well, I want to be like that. So they start trying to think of ways to go about it. And all of a sudden it's like, hey, here's this tool in your tool belt. It costs XYZ dollars. It's not too bad. And if you get up to a high enough platform, maybe you can become a micro influencer. And all of a sudden I can use those fake data points to push towards potential sponsors and get them to start investing in my influencer role when it's all based on nothing, right? Like it's already there. It's going to get weirder and you get ready, man, right? Like when you are able to more effectively take the AI, like the AI video stuff, and you can start to make it even better. There was one video that this guy had created on Twitter. I forget the profile, but it was all based on Tim Pool. I'm not sure if you saw this or not, but like they took the Timcast studio and all of the guys there, and they were able to create AI versions of them and do their own podcast. And like, I'm not kidding, Michael. I had watched 2 minutes of one of these clips. I thought, and I was like going to stake my reputation on it. I was like, oh, this is Tim Pool, the group being silly, doing a skit showing like what AI would look like. And it was actually AI. And it was very convincing. And I'm in this industry. I sell this stuff. And to see that, oh my God, like this is where this is heading. It's going to get like fantasy land stuff very, very quick.
Yeah, well, there's AI voiceovers and there's a lot of celebrity AI voiceovers, and those things are pretty spot on when it comes to the voice and voice.
You remember that Will Smith video where he was eating spaghetti, and that was like 2022, and they were like, "Yeah, good luck AI. You're not going to be able to get much better." And then you look at the video that came out from the Google, I forget what it's called, but it's like the Google video tool. Yeah. And it looks like Will Smith's eating spaghetti. And you're like, oh man, that's been a few years and they've already gotten to here. Like, what's next? Like, genuinely, for folks listening, if you have grandparents, older parents, like anybody who you care about that's over the age of like 50, you need to talk to them today and be like, hey, grandma, if you get a call from someone who sounds like me and they're asking you to send $200,000 over to a bank account in Nigeria because I've been kidnapped, like, we need to have a code word, right? Like the only something I would know that you need to ask me to make sure it's actually me, because this stuff is going to get even more scary as you continue to progress. Now, granted, there are companies who their entire like job is to help identify AI voices, and they can do a pretty good job, but your grandma doesn't use an AI like voice coder. Like, she's just going to hear it and be like, oh, is that Brian? Like, no, grandma, it's not me. And the video thing is true too. Like, there was a video that came out from the Google product, and it was them showing a girl, her hands tied up, and she goes, no, grandma, I'm not in danger. This is all AI. And just like, if you had shown that to a grandparent, they probably would have been terrified for their grandkid.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Calling the police, sending over 50 grand, whatever.
Think of how many people get stuck by the Nigerian prince reached out to me. He needs $50,000. Like, he
those are just
me.
emails. Those are just emails.
Yep.
There's an HOA not too far from here where the treasurer of the HOA paid this bill on PayPal because it came from the president of the HOA. And it wasn't from the president of the HOA. Spoofed the email address. So it's going to get crazy. And that's just email.
Yeah, there's a YouTuber I like. His name is Danny Gonzalez, and he did this overview of this one situation just like this, where this lady was it's so sad when you say it out loud, because like she lost, I think it was like $100,000, but she was convinced that she was in an intimate relationship with Brad Pitt. And
I think I heard this. Yeah,
dude. And it's like, this guy who was pretending to be Brad Pitt literally did the most awful looking Photoshops you've ever seen in your life. Like, it's Brad Pitt's face Photoshopped onto somebody's body that's in the hospital. And it's like a clip from one of his movies. They literally just they cut out his head, put it on the body. And it was like, my love, so sorry I can't meet you today. I'm in the hospital. And this lady bought it hook, line, and sinker and sent over $100K to this scammer. And I'm like, dude, that's a rough Photoshop. What happens when it's an AI generated image or video of Brad Pitt telling like, oh, Susie, I love you so much. I can't wait to see you next week. Like, let's talk over the phone tonight. And then like that's going to be happening. If it's not already happening, it's going to get even more scary as we get better with this stuff.
Yeah, changing the voices as you're talking, changing your video, your appearance. That already exists. Yep. The propaganda is going to be really difficult to identify.
Yeah, conspiratorial, by the way, but we saw this during the election. There was those two videos that were taken a week apart of Biden doing a press conference, and one of them, he's talking like this, and he just stares at the camera. He doesn't say like any emotion or anything. And then there's another one where you're like, oh, that sounds more like Biden. He's doing his ums and ahs, and people are like, wait, was that AI Biden? His voice sounds different. He looks different. And all this stuff that's coming out now, man, I wouldn't be surprised if it was an AI Biden. But like, just imagine what's going to be like in 10 years when we won't be able to tell truth from fiction.
Yeah, it's going to be scary. It's going to be definitely scary. So what my book that I'm coming out with, Liberated Mind, it talks about propaganda, and the way to really be able to identify it is to just question everything and to take everything with a grain of salt, and don't believe what you hear immediately, especially from the media, especially from Facebook and social media and whatever it is. It's like you have to use some discernment and some logical thinking in this stuff. And that's where principles come in. However, most people don't have principles. So they're just going to believe whatever they hear, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. People get very comfortable with not questioning things, because once you start to question things, now you have to start examining other areas. Like I forget who it was that did this video, but it was talking about how the best way to make somebody an anti-government conspiracy theorist is to have them start growing their own food. Because once you start to dig into the food industry and you see all the garbage put into the food, the fillers, the backroom deals put in place to like prop up certain organizations and entities over others, the fake studies like the American Heart Association saying that actually, believe it or not, you can in fact have saturated fats and all these awful things. That was saturated fats, or it was something in therein, but like, or is like the food pyramid and stuff like that. Like the fact that once you go down that rabbit hole, you're like, wait. What else are they lying about? What else is not real? And that opens up so many eyeballs. But like, you're right, man, you have to question everything. Because if you just take everything at face value, like I almost said, what's the fun in that? Because truly, what's the fun in that? But like, you're just living life on autopilot at some point. But that correlates. I think it was Bill Gates just said that he thinks within 20 or so years that humans are going to be, you know who it was? It was the developers over at Anthropic, which is the brains behind the AI chatbot Claude. And they think that within 20 years or so that humans are just going to become, I think they call us meat robots for AI overlords, which is terrifying. Yeah, but if you think about it, it makes sense, because how many people are just gonna be like, well, the AI told me this. It's gotta be true, right?
Let's roll it back to sales, right? So
Sorry, we got in a rabbit hole here. My bad, man.
No, this is great because it directly applies to sales. And what I mean by that is that there's going to be more value in the person-to-person contact.
Yes.
Right? The Zoom calls where you can actually see the person and say, hey, I'm real.
Yep.
Phone calls, maybe you can't really tell sometimes, but you can talk personal stuff. You can ask personal questions, share personal things about your family and your dogs and whatever else is happening in your life and your hiking trip this last weekend. And there's going to be more value, I believe, put on that personal connection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that plus the in-person stuff too.
COVID
broke a little bit of this, right? With the Zoom rooms and the virtual events, like that became a standard for a couple of years there. But you could see there was a very real desire for that human connection. Going back to what I was talking about, the HI, right? That human intelligence. And there's something fundamental about being a human being, that we need that community. We need to feel that there is that connection with other people like us. And when you start to incorporate these fake worlds, right? Like the AI or the metaverse that Mark Zuckerberg was really pushing there for a while, these teens who are living in these fake worlds. I saw this post the other day, broke my heart. Some guy literally using ChatGPT as his girlfriend, and you can see like the text on his phone where she's like, oh, I'll see you tonight, honey. I can metaphorically lay my head in your lap and stuff. And I'm like, dude, that's so sad, because there is just this craving for connection, and people will look to anything to get that connection. Think of all the goofball stories we've seen over the years of like, here's Bill fell in love with his car, and here's a video making Bill look like a goofball making out with the headlamps on his Ford Taurus. But like that kind of situation, it only manifests itself, maybe beyond mental illness, it only manifests itself when we have lost and abdicated such important integral parts of the human experience. If you are ignoring the fundamental things that have built the human society over the past millennia, like you're gonna have issues. You're gonna look to fill that void with other areas like, I don't know, drugs or porn or bad food or AI people you can talk to, or OnlyFans. Like that is what inevitably will happen. And by the way, is happening.
Yeah.
What was that? Did you see that stat where it was like 90 million American men are apparently on OnlyFans? And I forget the metric, but it was like 80% of them were married. And of that, it was like 70% of them actually were paying for content. That is horrifying. Now, I didn't dig into that candidly, so I'm not 100% on where those numbers were gathered from. But if there is even a semblance of truth to those numbers, let's cut it in half. 45 million Americans are buying OnlyFans content. Like that's what, a sixth, a fifth of America. That's horrifying. And yet it makes sense. Like they're looking for connection. They're looking for that, whatever that thing is that they're missing out in life. They're going to this to help check that box. And man, it's really sad. It's really sad. And as and I think COVID really exacerbated this issue. But as we continued to like stop the in-person gathering, stop that real life relationship, it inevitably turned that route. So I'm hoping that folks woke up from that and were able to say, yeah, you know what, we do need to have the in-person stuff, like whether that's in-person church services or going to the ball game with the boys, like just stuff like that. It matters. The average man has half a best friend, which that number sounds so sad, but that means that somebody out there has no best friends. And I think it was like 78% of men said that their best friend was their wife. There has been such a decline in community, especially in these men's circles, which obviously has turned into the whole manosphere thing. But like, it's because we've lost that personal connection with people in our communities, the nonprofits, the cause organizations, like your Elks clubs or your Knights of Columbus, like the Moose Lodge. Those are all folks who are dying away. And it's from a different era. And it's really sad, man. It makes me sad to see where we're heading. But I really hope that there's enough folks who are having the conversation on the other side of the aisle saying, hey, Let's really embrace getting back to real life. That's why for my day job, I do a lot of events in person, because I want people to feel that you're part of something better and bigger than just a Zoom call, right? I want you to feel connected with other people. So like, I'm hoping we see some yin and yang here, but right now, man, it's been spooky to see the direction we've taken as the society has crumbled and technology has taken its place.
Sure. So that makes me think about like the root cause of this. And I believe a lot of it is because of the technology, because it's made it easy for people to just go online and get their dopamine hits online. And then they've lost the soft skills that they need to actually build relationships with people. The confidence, being able to shake someone's hand, look someone in the eye, right, and have a conversation. And we homeschool our kids. And our kids can confidently talk to other kids and adults and look them in the eyes and have conversations. But a lot of these kids that go to the government education schools, like they have a hard time looking at you in the eye and having a conversation. And it's not a good thing at all. And a lot of the education is not teaching these kids how to actually build safe relationships with people. Safe friendships with people, boundaries, and how any of these things. Now, there's so many kids that are on Fortnite or World of Warcraft or these online games, and that's where their entire reality is. And they're just huddled in their room with the real world going on outside.
I think back to when we were kids, Michael, like I used to do like Halo nights, right? The old Halo.
Right.
In person, that's right. Everybody would bring their freaking Xbox to Tyler's house. Yeah. We'd hook them all together with the LAN, and you'd be playing Halo. We call it scope off. It was snipers and shotguns, and we would go to lockout and we play that for like 8-9 hours. And like the in betweens of the game, we're shooting shit. Like we're just having a great conversation. We're busting each other's balls. We're going out jumping in the pool. Like we're being kids but being together. Versus like I'm in my room, they're in their room, and then once the game's done, and that relationship, that community, it ends at the end of the game. That's actually a very sad video that was put out. It was a marketing video about like the importance of connection, but it was this guy, like it showed back when he was a kid and playing with his friends, and then the next scene cut to him playing in his room by himself, and the game turns off, and he just like takes the headphones off, and he just looks around. It's him in his empty room. And that is indicative of, I think, where a lot of young men, young Americans in general are currently at today, which is quite sad.
Yeah, so this conversation obviously went in a whole different direction than what it started, but this is great because it goes to show the value and the importance of getting out and building connections. And I'm glad that you brought up some of these community service organizations like the Moose Lodge and the Lions Club and all these other organizations. So you go out and make connections and do something positive, and it's going to create a different type of fulfillment, not that quick hit of dopamine that you're getting from Facebook, or man, those statistics on OnlyFans is super troubling.
Yeah.
Like, that is not good.
No.
That is not healthy, and it's not going to lead to a good place. So
no, well, and we've seen the uptick of young men who have either not had a relationship or have no desire to have a relationship. And that's horrifying for many reasons, right? And I think, not trying to turn this into the theology podcast, but like a lot of this has also been our refusal and rejection as a society to embrace religion. I don't care what that religion is, but just having some type of shared values, some shared goals as a society, that's paramount. And when you start to get rid of the things that we all agree on in pursuit of looking at the things that make us different, then you're only going to see the differences. And you end up putting people into these very tight-knit groups of folks who maybe have the same values on like one particular issue, but that's it. And there's nothing substantial beyond that one thing that you are actually building something on. And that is where, whether people love or hate organized religion, that organized religion had value. It still has value. And by the way, why there has been a resurgence of young men flocking back to church, because they're looking for purpose, they're looking for community. And that's where we mostly throughout society have been able to find that is at our local churches. And that might be a church, a synagogue, a mosque. I'm a Christian, right? I'm a pastor's kid. I grew up in the Christian Orthodox, but like the fact that that's where my value for religion came from. Doesn't mean it has to be the one size fits all approach, but the fact that there are people who just go find the religion of some sort that, I hope we're all worshiping the same God, right? But like, just find that network, find that community in person, go be a part of it. If you're not, you're truly missing out on like the relationships that help build our society. So like, just go and try to get, and if you don't believe, right, that's okay. Just go be there in person, build relationships with the community, and they're going to be happy to have you. Like, I've had to have that conversation with a few of my friends. Like, don't stress if you're not religious. Don't stress if you're still having questions yourself. Just go to church. Right. Yep. And I promise you that you will be embraced with open arms. They will love to have you there. And hey, maybe you'll have your mind changed at some point as you're going through the process, but don't just sit at home. Just go get involved. Yeah.
Find something, right? Find something. Go out, and preferably not the bar. That's not the bar version.
No alcohol. Alcohol is poison. Go away.
Absolutely. Brian, thank you so much. Everyone listening, Brian's book again is the CX Compass, and it's relatively short, 58 pages. So if you are a sales professional looking to get into sales, have someone in your life in sales, buy them this book.
Yeah, $10 over on Amazon. I made it quite easy. So yeah, go ahead, check it out. And if you enjoy the book, obviously I would love a 5-star review. So yeah, you can find that again over on Amazon. And I would be happy to talk to any folks who maybe have questions about the book or looking to get better at the world of sales. That's my day job. So I'd love to have a conversation.
Awesome. And Brian, you have a regular podcast as well, correct?
I do. Yeah, we're approaching episode 1000 here in the next month or so. The show we do 3 times a week, and here I'll give you the sneak peek behind the scenes here, Michael. As we go towards episode 1000, I'm actually taking a bit of a change for the show, and I think in the best of ways. The show has been traditionally 3 shows a week, where it's me sitting down with just somebody in the world of politics or policy or something therein, and we're talking about issues. I get so much value, though, from talking about the things that, frankly, I think not only do I really care about, but things that other people are starting to focus more on. And I appreciate that. So business is one of the areas. The other area is health and wellness. So what I'm going to be doing is going forward after episode 1000, 1 show a week is going to be focused entirely on business, sales, marketing, and all that therein. The second show is going to be focused exactly what it is today: politics, culture, policy. And then the third episode, we're going to be laser focusing on health, wellness, the stuff we're putting into our body, the things we're doing with our bodies. And I'm going to be looking to have guests on the show. Would love to get you on, Michael, to talk about these different areas, and areas that we can make things better, areas that have made things worse that we need to talk about, and really build some solutions. I used to weigh 385 pounds. So for me, it's an area that I am very, very, very near and dear to my heart, and I care a lot about. And just to be able to tell my story, the challenges I've gone through in life of my weight loss journey, but also it's never ending, right? Like the ebbs and flows of my weight, and the things that I've been able to do to help make my life better, talking to experts who they have the tools, they've been doing this stuff for years, just to be able to have that dialogue. So episode 1000 and beyond, it's going to be a little bit of a different format. I'm super excited though. And hopefully if you get some value, folks, if you check it out, go ahead, give it a subscribe. And if you want to reach out to me, you can find me on all the social medias at B Nichols Liberty, or if you just go ahead and reach out, email me, Brian at briannicholsshow.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brian. Really appreciate it.
For sure, man. Thank you again for having me on.
What if the only thing holding you back was a belief? The Liberated Mind book helps you reprogram your subconscious so you can finally break free from limiting beliefs. Can't stop procrastinating? You'll learn how to install new mental habits that stick. Struggling with self-doubt? You'll discover how to silence that inner critic with daily tools and rewiring techniques. Having a hard time controlling your eating and drinking habits? Get in shape, release excess weight, and grow self-esteem. From building confidence to healing emotional blocks, this book shows you how to create improvements that last. After you finish reading or listening to the audiobook, join our Liberated Mind Mastermind community for consistent support and encouragement on your journey, and take part in our quarterly 90-day self-improvement challenges. You can purchase the book on Amazon or at liberatedmindpodcast.com.